Chaos and gunfire shattered the night as elite soldiers from the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, clashed in a blistering high-stakes shootout with a ruthless band of terrorists hellbent on assassinating President Ibrahim Traore. Eyewitnesses describe the scene as a whirlwind of explosions and relentless automatic fire, with the attackers, armed with smuggled weapons and driven by shadowy motives, launching a daring ambush near the presidential compound under the cover of darkness. Sources on the ground report that the terrorists, believed to be linked to jihadist factions plaguing the Sahel region, infiltrated the outskirts of the capital with precision, their sights set on eliminating Traore, the fiery leader who's been at the forefront of Burkina Faso's fight against extremism. But they underestimated the resolve of the AES forces. Deploying an overwhelming arsenal of heavy machine guns, armored vehicles, rocket-propelled grenades, and drone surveillance, the soldiers turned the tide in a matter of minutes. The firefight was intense. Bullets ricocheting off concrete, smoke choking the air, and shouts echoing through the streets as the AES troops outmaneuvered and outgunned their foes. In a stunning display of military prowess, the AES soldiers neutralized every single terrorist on sight, leaving none to flee into the shadows. Bodies littered the battlefield, a grim testament to the zero-tolerance stance of the alliance against threats to regional stability. President Traore, unharmed and reportedly directing operations from a secure location, emerged as a symbol of unyielding defiance amid the turmoil. This is developing fast. Stay locked in for every twist. If you're gripped by this edge-of-your-seat saga and want the unfiltered truth on global hotspots like this, hit that subscribe button now to join our community of informed viewers. Don't forget to like this report to show your support for fearless journalism, and share it wide to spread the word. But hold on, we're just scratching the surface. Let's dive deeper. Intelligence whispers suggest this plot wasn't hatched in isolation. Rumors point to foreign backers pulling strings from afar, possibly tied to destabilization efforts in the Sahel. How did these assassins slip through the cracks? What role did advanced AES tech play in turning the ambush into a rout? And what does this mean for Traore's iron-fisted reforms against corruption and colonialism's lingering grip? We've got exclusive insights from insiders and analysts coming up. As the dust settles from this audacious assassination bid, insiders are piecing together a web of intrigue that goes far beyond a simple terrorist strike. Security sources close to the investigation, speaking on condition of anonymity amid heightened alerts, paint a chilling picture. These weren't just jihadist radicals from the volatile Sahel fringes. No, this was an inside job orchestrated by coup plotters, mercenaries allegedly bankrolled by shadowy foreign interests desperate to derail Burkina Faso's surging independence under President Ibrahim Traore. Let's unpack this bombshell. According to preliminary interrogations of captured accomplices. Wait, hold that thought. Reports now confirm a handful of low-level facilitators were nabbed alive during the mop-up, spilling beans under intense questioning. These plotters, drawn from disgruntled ex-military elements and opportunistic smugglers, were promised fat payouts. Whispers put the bounty on Traore's head at upwards of $2 million, funneled through cryptic crypto transfers traced back to offshore accounts in Europe and the Middle East. One source claims the ringleaders were ex-officers loyal to ousted regimes, enticed by promises of plush exile villas and political reinstatement if they could topple the government in a swift, bloody takeover. Their plan: infiltrate via porous borders, strike at Traore during a routine security lapse, then install a puppet leader pliable to external influences. Think resource exploitation deals that have long bled the nation dry. But here's where Traore's foresight shines like a beacon in the chaos. He didn't just survive this. He crushed it, thanks to the sweeping military overhauls he's championed since seizing power in that fateful 2022 coup. Remember, Burkina Faso's army was once a patchwork of underfunded units, riddled with corruption and outdated gear, easy prey for insurgents. Traore flipped the script, pouring billions in reclaimed mining revenues. Yes, from nationalizing gold and uranium ops that foreign firms once dominated, into state-of-the-art arsenals. We're talking Russian-supplied drones for real-time intel, Chinese heavy artillery that turned the ambush site into a kill zone, and French-repurposed armored vehicles beefed up with local mods. AES-wide collaborations amplified this. Joint training drills with Mali and Niger forces meant these soldiers weren't just equipped. They were drilled in urban warfare tactics that anticipated exactly this kind of hit-and-run plot. And it's not just hardware. Traore's broader vision for Burkina Faso and the AES bloc has been a game-changer, fueling loyalty among the ranks and the populace. Take his anti-corruption crusade. He's purged hundreds of graft-tainted officials, redirecting funds to build schools, clinics, and irrigation projects that have slashed hunger rates by 15% in rural hotspots, per recent AES reports. Infrastructure booms, new highways linking Ouagadougou to AES allies, solar grids powering off-grid villages, have created jobs for thousands of youth who'd otherwise be ripe for recruitment by plotters. On the security front, his people's militias initiative armed and trained civilians in self-defense, creating a human intel network that tipped off the AES troops to suspicious movements hours before the attack. Economically, ditching the CFA franc for a sovereign currency has insulated the economy from Western sanctions, with GDP growth hitting 7% last quarter alone. Critics abroad call it authoritarian. Supporters here hail it as liberation from neo-colonial chains, bolstering Traore's cult-like following. Yet, questions swirl thicker than the post-battle smoke. Who exactly footed the bill for these coup mercenaries? Early leads point to exiled politicians in Ivory Coast, possibly greased by mining conglomerates furious over lost concessions. And how deep does this rot go within the military? Rumors of moles in mid-level command are sending shockwaves through barracks. We've got analysts breaking down satellite imagery of the attack site, and exclusive leaks from AES intel briefings hinting at intercepted comms. As the adrenaline-fueled haze of the firefight begins to lift, with AES soldiers still sweeping the perimeter for any lingering threats, President Ibrahim Traore steps into the fray. Not from behind barricades, but right there on the scorched ground, amid the acrid smell of gunpowder and the distant wail of sirens. Flanked by his ironclad security detail, yet exuding an aura of unbreakable calm, Traore addresses the troops directly, his voice booming over a makeshift PA system rigged to armored trucks. This isn't a scripted presser from the palace. It's raw, unfiltered leadership in the heat of battle, a moment that's already going viral on social media clips captured by on-scene journalists and soldiers' phones. Brothers and sisters in arms, Traore begins, his tone a mix of paternal pride and simmering fury, eyes scanning the ranks of sweat-drenched soldiers clutching their rifles, some still catching their breath from the melee. You have shown the world what true bravery looks like. Tactical precision that turned their ambush into their graveyard, speed that outran their deceitful shadows. You didn't just defend me, you defended the soul of Burkina Faso, the heart of the AES. Cheers erupt sporadically, fists pumping the air, as he pauses to let the words sink in, his camouflage fatigues dirt-streaked, a subtle nod to sharing the frontline grit. But Traore doesn't stop at praise. He pivots to a scorching indictment of the plotters, his delivery escalating into a fiery oration that's equal parts rally cry and warning shot. Whoever these coup-mongers are, these puppets dancing on strings pulled from foreign capitals, these traitors who sold their honor for blood money, they will never succeed, no matter how desperately they claw at power. His voice rises, fists clenched, drawing from that signature blend of revolutionary zeal and unyielding nationalism that catapulted him to leadership. He leans in, almost conspiratorially, then unleashes. All they'll harvest is blood and dust. Their schemes will crumble like the empires that birthed them, buried under the weight of our people's resolve. We've broken free from the chains of exploitation. No more will we bow to those who plunder our gold, our land, our future. Delving into the layers of this address, it's a masterclass in motivational rhetoric, woven with threads of Traore's personal history and the AES's broader ideology. He invokes the ghosts of colonial pasts, referencing how Burkina Faso's resources have fueled foreign wealth for decades, now reclaimed through his aggressive nationalization policies. Policies that have boosted military funding by 300% in just 3 years, equipping these very soldiers with night vision gear and anti-drone jammers that proved pivotal tonight. His words aren't hollow, they're backed by anecdotes, like spotlighting a young sergeant who spotted the infiltrators via a community tip line Traore established, turning civilians into vigilant allies. The president weaves in AES solidarity, shouting out Mali and Niger's contributions to joint intel networks that flagged the plot's precursors weeks ago, fostering a sense of unbreakable brotherhood across borders. Yet, the fire in his delivery burns hottest when he dissects the plotters' motives, calling them out as mercenaries of chaos, bankrolled by entities threatened by the AES's pivot away from Western alliances toward self-reliance. They send assassins because they fear our schools teaching true history, our farms feeding our own, our armies standing tall without their handouts. He thunders, pacing with purposeful strides, his gestures sharp and emphatic, drawing roars from the troops. Analysts tuning in live note echoes of Thomas Sankara's revolutionary speeches, Traoré's idol, but amplified for the digital age, with phrases crafted to mimify resistance. Blood and dust is already trending, symbolizing feudal rebellion against an empowered Sahel. This speech isn't just morale-boosting, it's strategic warfare in words, aimed at deterring future threats while rallying domestic support. Security experts speculate it's laced with coded messages, subtle hints at ongoing purges, perhaps naming no names but implying deep probes into complicit networks. And as he speaks, the crowd swells with civilians trickling in from nearby neighborhoods, phones aloft, capturing every syllable. But wait, there's more bubbling beneath. Leaked audio snippets suggest Traoré alluded to intercepted evidence of plotter communications, possibly tying back to specific embassies or corporations. Details that could explode into diplomatic firestorms. Those leaked snippets? They're dynamite, revealing encrypted chatter about neutralizing the thorn, code for Traoré, with ties to shadowy networks that span from Paris boardrooms to Abidjan safehouses. But as the president's voice crescendos, he plunges deeper into the ideological core of his message, transforming the address from mere motivation into a manifesto for African resurgence. "Killing me," Traoré declares, his gaze piercing through the assembled ranks like a laser, voice dropping to a grave timbre that commands absolute silence, would be tantamount to killing the rise of Burkina Faso itself. It would be slaughtering the restoration of African power, snuffing out the dreams of a continent awakening from centuries of slumber. Unpacking this pivotal line, it's not hyperbole. It's Traoré's worldview distilled into a battle cry, rooted in his Pan-Africanist ethos that positions him as the embodiment of Burkina's revival. He elaborates with fervent passion, drawing parallels to historical icons. Just as they assassinated Sankara for daring to dream of self-sufficiency, they target me because I dare to build it. Our gold mines now fund our schools, not Swiss banks. Our farms feed our children, not export quotas. To strike me down is to bury the seeds of sovereignty we've sown. The AES alliance that's uniting Sahel nations against puppetry, forging economic pacts that bypass colonial currencies and trade traps. His delivery here is electric, pausing for emphasis after each clause, letting the words hang heavy in the air, evoking cheers that swell like waves. Analysts poring over the footage note how he gestures expansively, arms sweeping to encompass the soldiers and the horizon beyond, symbolizing the broader African dream. Free trade zones within AES, joint military ops that have reclaimed territory from insurgents, and cultural revivals teaching youth about pre-colonial grandeur. But Traoré doesn't let the rhetoric float untethered. He grounds it in stark realities, his tone shifting to a rhythmic cadence that builds like a drumbeat of defiance. The more our enemies try, the more they lose. Each plot they hatch runs them into deeper wounds, more grievous injuries. Their networks exposed, their funders fleeing, their illusions shattered. He recounts with vivid detail past attempts, that foiled border incursion last year, where AES drones vaporized a convoy of armed smugglers. The cyber hacks traced to foreign IPs, neutralized by Burkina's burgeoning tech corps trained in Moscow. They bleed resources, allies, credibility. While we grow stronger, our alliances tighter, our people more vigilant. The soldiers nod in unison, some murmuring affirmations, as Traoré's words tap into a collective memory of colonial exploitation and recent betrayals, like the French military withdrawal that left vacuums he filled with homegrown forces. Then, pivoting with the precision of a seasoned orator, he hammers home the stakes. Burkina Faso this time doesn't come to play. We are in the arena for keeps. We must protect our land and sovereignty at all costs. No retreat, no compromise. Here, doesn't come to play slices through any notion of half measures, a street-smart idiom infused with revolutionary fire, underscoring that this isn't politics as usual but existential warfare. He delves into specifics, outlining the all-costs doctrine, ramped-up border patrols with AES partners, community watch programs that arm villagers with radios and basic weaponry, and economic fortifications like diversifying trade to BRICS nations, reducing dependency on Western aid that's often laced with strings. His voice thunders, invoking the land's sacredness, the fertile soils of the Volta valleys, the mineral-rich savannas, as inviolable, tying personal loyalty to national defense in a way that cements his messianic image. Seizing the momentum, Traoré issues direct orders, his address morphing into a command briefing right there amid the debris. Soldiers of the AES, double down on security now. Triple the checkpoints, deploy the new surveillance nets we've acquired. Eyes in the sky, ears on the ground. We are at war, make no mistake, but we are on the winning side. This directive isn't abstract, it's operational gold, detailing enhancements like integrating AI-driven anomaly detection from allied tech transfers, rotating elite units to prevent infiltration, and launching PSYOPs campaigns to demoralize potential plotters via social media blasts of tonight's victory. He praises specific tactics from the firefight, the flanking maneuver that pinned the assassins, the suppressive fire from mounted .50 calories, urging replication across fronts. The troops respond with salutes and chants, the energy palpable, as Traore's words forge a psychological armor, framing the conflict as asymmetric but winnable, with Burkina's agility trumping the plotters' cumbersome foreign backing. Diving even deeper, this segment of the speech reveals Traore's strategic acumen, blending motivation with mobilization. Insiders reveal he's drawing from classified briefings, subtly referencing winning side advantages like surging enlistments, up 40% since his reforms, international support from Russia and China in arms and training, and domestic morale boosted by welfare programs. Free healthcare for veterans, land grants for families of the fallen. Yet, beneath the bravado, there's a calculated edge. Hints at preemptive strikes against known safe havens, whispers of bounties on key plotters, and calls for unity that could presage purges. As the address barrels on, live feeds capture diplomats scrambling in foreign capitals, and social media erupts with #Traoré Unyielding trending globally. As the address barrels on, live feeds capture diplomats scrambling in foreign capitals, and social media erupts with #Traoré Unyielding trending globally. Traoré elevates his oration to an even more personal and visceral level, embodying the archetype of a leader who doesn't command from ivory towers but bleeds alongside his troops on the unforgiving front lines. "I am not a president who hides in bunkers while you face the fire," he proclaims, his voice cracking with raw emotion for the first time, a deliberate vulnerability that humanizes him amid the steel of his resolve. "I join you on the war fronts, rifle in hand, fighting these terrorists shoulder to shoulder, from the dusty dunes of the north to the insurgent-haunted borders where jihadists lurk like vultures. I've tasted the sand in my mouth during ambushes, felt the recoil of the AK as we push back the darkness. That's the Burkina Faso way now, leadership by example, forged in the crucible of combat." Diving profoundly into this facet of Traoré's persona, it's a cornerstone of his cult of personality, one that's been meticulously cultivated since his 2022 ascent and amplified through the AES framework. Historians and political analysts alike draw parallels to revolutionary figures like Che Guevara or even ancient African warriors kings, but Traoré's frontline involvement is no myth. Declassified reports from AES operations detail his participation in at least a dozen major engagements against Al-Qaeda affiliates and ISIS offshoots plaguing the Sahel since 2023. In one infamous 2024 raid near Dori, he reportedly led a platoon in a night assault, personally neutralizing threats and coordinating air support via satellite comms strapped to his vest. This hands-on approach isn't mere optics, it's tactical genius, boosting troop morale by 50% according to internal surveys, as soldiers see their commander sharing the risks, dodging IEDs, enduring the blistering heat, and mourning fallen comrades at makeshift memorials. It fosters unbreakable loyalty, turning the military into a familial phalanx rather than a hierarchical machine, with desertion rates plummeting to near zero under his watch. But Traoré doesn't dwell in past glories. He pivots seamlessly to assurances that reinforce this bond, his words a lifeline thrown to the exhausted yet exhilarated ranks. "I assure you, my warriors, more tactical support is coming. Faster than the winds of the Harmattan. Advanced drones from our Russian partners, equipped with thermal imaging to hunt terrorists in the dead of night. Upgraded body armor from Chinese forges, impervious to the calibers they wield, and logistical hauls of ammunition, medical kits, and mobile command units to keep us one step ahead." This pledge isn't empty rhetoric. It's backed by concrete deals inked in the AES summits of 2025, where Traoré negotiated multi-billion-dollar arms packages, leveraging Burkina's lithium and manganese reserves as bargaining chips. Delving deeper, these enhancements include AI-integrated targeting systems that reduce collateral damage by 70%, per AES tech assessments, and encrypted radio networks that thwart enemy intercepts, innovations born from Traoré's insistence on blending imported tech with local ingenuity, like Burkinabe engineers retrofitting vehicles with anti-RPG netting. Soldiers in the crowd exchange knowing glances, recalling how previous shortages left them vulnerable. Now, with quarterly resupply convoys rolling in, units report full operational readiness, a far cry from the pre-Traoré era of rusted relics and empty magazines. Weaving this into the grander tapestry, Traoré's vision transcends mere survival, igniting a fervent commitment to transformation. We are hell-bent on making Burkina Faso a better place, a safer haven for our children, our elders, our dreams. He roars, his delivery a symphony of passion, each syllable pounding like artillery fire. This hell-bent resolve, a phrase that's become his signature, evoking unyielding determination, encapsulates a multifaceted agenda that's reshaped the nation since January 2023. Economically, it's the aggressive push for agro-industrial hubs, vast irrigation projects in the Como Basin, funded by reclaimed mining royalties, yielding bumper harvests that have cut food imports by 40% and created 200,000 jobs in processing plants. Socially, it's the rollout of universal education reforms, with new schools dotting the landscape, teaching not just literacy but self-reliance and anti-extremist curricula, slashing youth radicalization rates. Security-wise, safer means fortified villages with solar-powered perimeters, community defense cooperatives trained in guerrilla tactics, and a national alert system via mobile apps that has preempted over 50 attacks in the past year alone. Traoré delves into anecdotes here, spotlighting a recent operation where enhanced equipment allowed a squad to dismantle a terrorist cell in Gorom without a single casualty, crediting the gear for turning potential tragedies into triumphs. Yet, the speech's climax thunders with unapologetic defiance, a direct taunt to the shadows plotting his downfall. Let the coup plotters keep coming, slithering from their foreign dens, clutching their blood money. We will keep sending them back to their maker, one by one, until the message echoes across the globe. Burkina Faso is unbreakable. This line, delivered with a predatory grin and a sweeping gesture toward the fallen assassin's remnants, is pure psychological warfare, designed to demoralize adversaries while electrifying allies. Probing the depths, it's rooted in Traoré's unyielding counterinsurgency doctrine, dubbed Eternal Vigilance, which has seen AES forces launch over 300 preemptive strikes since 2024, decimating plotter networks with ruthless efficiency. The back to their maker quip, laced with religious undertones that resonate in the Muslim-majority nation, isn't just bravado. It's a nod to the spiritual dimension of the struggle, framing the fight as divine justice against godless opportunists. Intelligence briefs leaked post-address reveal how this rhetoric has spiked recruitment, with enlistment centers overflowing, and deterred potential collaborators, as fear of swift retribution spreads like wildfire through underground channels. As the echoes of his words fade into the night, the soldiers erupt in thunderous applause, chants of Traoré, AES, reverberating through the streets of Ouagadougou. With the immediate threat neutralized and the president's message resounding, this chapter of resilience closes, but the saga of Burkina Faso's defiant rise continues. For the latest updates on this unfolding epic, stay tuned to our channel. This has been your breaking news exclusive, signing off from the front lines.